Raise your voices, raise your glass high. Welcome to the Drink O'Clock Podcast. Let's dive. Oh, grab an old fashioned and join the fray. Raise your spirits, let the music play. From the corner pub to the dance hall floor. Drink O'Clock Podcast, we're ready for more.
Round fucking 2. This is the Drink O'Clock Podcast. I am your host, Rob Valincius, and I have the pleasure of having the writer, producer, and director, Ethan D. Henry. Welcome to the show, brother. Again.
What's going on, Rob? Again, and just to be clear, I'm a co-writer. I wrote it, and a friend of mine, Melissa Godin Hunt, helped me rewrite the script. So, co-writer.
We'll make sure we get her in here because I know in our original discussion. And for the listeners, you guys know I'm a perfectionist. I went to go edit the audio and I wasn't fucking paying attention to, I guess, anything that I was doing. And turns out I was recording audio on my PlayStation 5 controller like an idiot. So now it is unplugged. And I tested my audio, and you would think I'm a rookie. But it'll be 2 years at the end of next month that I've been doing this podcast. And that's the first time that's ever happened to me. So, I guess it's just one of those fucking freak things. But, so Ethan, your feature film that you co-wrote, is called Severance Mountain. So I think, we did want to clarify this time around that, you originally said coming out this Halloween and it was more of a coming out in the fall Halloween time.
Kind of like it's Christmas time, it's Halloween time, Spirit Halloween's opening up. That was kind of the idea. And on the trailer I wrote it Halloween, and a lot of people were like, so it's coming out on Halloween day? I'm like, no, like Halloween season. There's a season to Halloween. So I and that's the trailer we're pushing. So we'll see how that plays out.
That's awesome. You know what? I don't know, man. I feel like I almost never watch horror movies on Halloween. I mean, maybe I will watch one or, we'll watch like a scary show or something. But for the most part, I feel like it's the anticipation of leading up to Halloween. When you have AMC playing 30 days of Halloween shit or whatever. It's like every day it's just a constant marathon of horror movies. You're like, oh, I haven't seen Alien 2 in 5 years, and you put it on, and I'm still trying to convince the wifey to watch Alien. It's there because Prometheus
Alien
was such a great movie.
Romulus looks pretty good too. I just saw a trailer for that the other day. That looks good.
Romulus looks fantastic, and Prometheus was way better than I thought it was going to be. So I'm trying to. I think I'm just going to get her lit and just happen to put it on and be like, oh look, Alien's on,
Yeah.
But
yes, found the aliens, right? The architects and stuff, right? That's where they found the big white creatures, right? Prometheus.
Yeah, and
that was dope.
Yeah, and originally it wasn't dubbed an Alien movie, and then after it came out, and all the internet sleuths were like, dude, this is definitely Alien, and they eventually confirmed it. But it was a great, way better than I thought it was going to be, and actually Probably next to Alien 1, I feel like it's got to go like Alien 1 Prometheus for me because, it explains a lot and just the flow of the movie was really good.
It was
especially because you didn't know that it was connected, till the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of diehards, I knew it was connected, but it was awesome. It was a standalone movie, but it was great, dude. It was great to hear that lore and like telling a little bit of the backstory. I love that. I love Prometheus.
I'm a sucker for that shit. And you tell me if you're into this type of genre. I love, and I would read a lot of books. This fucking mic is driving me nuts, dude. It's just slowly sliding this way. I gotta tighten it up. I like the anti-hero movies where you kind of see the background of the bad guys and then kind of what they turned into. And it's like very similar to like Star Wars. right? The original trilogy, or not the original trilogy, but 1, 2, and 3, you kind of saw, how Anakin became Darth Vader, right? But you see how he started, this innocent kid,
Yeah.
and he made some bad decisions and hung out with some shady characters, and before you know it, he's a Sith Lord. So I'm obsessed with those. Star Wars was really good with that, in my opinion.
You know,
Oh.
a movie that I was I'm really into is, you ever watch Signs?
Signs, yeah.
Okay, so what is Signs? Is it an alien movie, right? It's an alien movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, you never know with M. Night. I feel like he's a crapshoot with that. But
I theory that it's not an alien movie. It's actually about demons, and like, because the whole, I guess, because M. Night's really creative about how he puts these little stories in, and how he's pulling from all these places, and it's about a priest who falls out of faith, and then he comes back, and I just watched a podcast on YouTube, or I don't know what they were doing, but a show, and they talked about Signs being about demons and coming here, and it has tons of religious stuff in it. I really like that because it felt, when I watched the first 10 times, it felt like an alien movie, right? But then now I want to watch it through this new lens of why it might be more of a spiritual kind of demonic thing. More it has a different feel. It depends on what lens you look through, but cool. I just saw that the other day, and I told my wife about it, and I thought it was really cool, and I'm telling everybody about it, so I'm telling you now. Get it through the lens of,
now it's on the internet.
Religious, but it's cool.
I think I would have to rewatch it under that lens. It's very similar to like if you were to watch the Star Wars movies now, I always tell people the best way to watch them is not the way they came out. Like, you don't watch 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. You should watch 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and then 6. And it makes the arc of the story 10 times better.
I worked with a girl.
It makes number 1 better, in my opinion.
Well, it does. If you watch the 4, 5, and 6, and you go back, it's always like, it's always falling short. But I worked with this girl, and she knew nothing about Star Wars, and so we watched 4, 5, and 6, and then we watched 1, 2, and 3. But she just watched it from 1, 2, 3 on through. So she discovered, Anakin as a kid, and then when he turned evil, she was blown away. And then when Yoda died, she was blown away. And like when all these things started unfolding, like, wow, it's got to be such a unique experience to watch Star Wars in that order, not knowing anything about it. So she just got to see it in real time. It or she got to see it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I mean, to me, Yoda had been dead for 20 years. When it finally down. But she didn't see it that way, and she loved it, and she fell in love with it from the first episode on. So it must work. Like for me, still loving Empire Strikes Back. Like as my favorite Star Wars movie, like a lot of people in my age, in my group, but. Yeah, it's interesting to see that, watching it from the beginning to the end that way, and knowing nothing about Star Wars, and loving it for what it is. And it's. I wish I could see it that way. You know what I mean? Because it would be cool. Because nothing beats 4, 5, and 6. I mean, and every time I watch, I'm like, trying to capitalize. They're telling this story, but I almost wish I didn't hear that part. Or someone, I think Topher Grace, smashed all the movies together into one. The Phantom Edit, I think it's called, and it's like a 2.5 hour long edit where he basically smashed episodes 1, 2, and 3 into one movie. It's on YouTube. You can watch it, and it's pretty cool. It moves a little funny, but it gets rid of all the boring stuff and just tells the story kind of quickly.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll have to check that out because, yeah, I mean, some and look, I listen to audiobooks, but I'm a reader. I've always been a reader. I love I have a wild imagination, I've always had it. And a book, if you're into like audiobooks, or if you have time, I don't know if you've ever listened or read this, but Darth Plagueis, it's a standalone book. I don't know if it's canon because it came out before Disney bought Star Wars. It was an amazing book, but it really gives you like a ton of background on the Senate and all that shit, because going into it, you don't fucking care, right? You don't understand a lot of that stuff that's going on, but a lot of it was manipulated by Darth Plagueis and all the things he went to into staying alive forever. And apparently I heard he's kind of resurfaced with one of the new Star Wars shows that I kind of refuse to watch because it's like super, I don't know. I can't watch that shit, dude, when it's like every character has to be a different color, and like they don't. I'm not. Hold on, let's go back. I'm not a racist, okay? Everyone that listens to this knows this, but I'm one of those people. I feel like, and maybe you can talk on this, but because I have a question about this on here, but like when you cast, you're casting for an idea that you have in your head, and if that means your whole cast is Asian, great, it is what it is. But if it means like you're looking for the right person, Disney's just like, and now we have to hit every single demographic. And then we also have to fuck the old Star Wars people that love, and we need the new Star Wars people. And then we also have to add old characters. They're just all over the place, man. And I feel like casting's difficult. I get that. But you have to like stay true to like what is in your head, right?
Well, I mean, to kind of like support the idea of everything that's different, it is challenging. Like I live in a small town. There's not a lot of different people here. I live in northern New York. You know what I mean? We're not by any really major cities. Closest city is Ottawa, which is about an hour away. That's another country. And when it comes to making a movie, a lot of times it's hard to find girls. You know what I mean? Like you got a bunch of dudes who want to make a movie, and I'm like, well, how are we supposed to make a diverse movie with nobody? So when you have a lot of resources and you have a huge pool to choose from, I try not to, most of my stuff, unless it's like historical and it has to be like, okay, this is about a certain era and these are the people it's about. You know what I mean? You can't tell a story about China and their history and cast a bunch of white dudes in it. You know what I mean? Like you should probably stick to the demographic that you're telling the story about. But my stories are typically fiction. So in being a fiction world, I just say a dude, a chick, the mother, the daughter, the wife. I just say people. I don't really put a color on it. Sometimes I have a specific actor in mind, and I'll say, oh my God, it'd be great if we got, so and so. We got Denzel Washington to play this because he's just commanding character, but I did do I did a SAG project where I did a pilot for a TV show, and they were definitely. There's a lot of things in place to kind of make sure you're including everyone, which I think is cool. But there's perks to do it too. Like they say, okay, well if you do this, you'll get a discount on this, and there's a lot of little things that it's hard when you screwed up for so long and you like just kind of just excluded so many different people, races and women and stuff. And now you're trying to make up for that stuff. This is what you're seeing with a lot of these companies because they don't want to be on the other end of that stick. So some of them are overstating. At the same time, like I said, when I write something, I try to write it just for people. And like if I meet somebody and I don't really care what color they are, I don't care where their background is. If they just feel like they're that person, I'm like, whoa, dude. And backing up Star Wars. I was just talking to my kids about this, and I was like, what's cool about Star Wars? They don't really focus on race so much. They don't really focus on, well, this person's that. I mean, they have green chicks that are hot. They have weird alien heads and 12-inch necks that are, that are running things. They have like ETs in there. They have little Yodas in there, and aside from being different, and just we could tell they're different. They're just characters. You know what I mean? In a fictional story. So. To me, it's like I try not to like base my viewing experience off of that. Sometimes there are things that feel forced, but for the most part, um, we live in a day and age where there's so many people that have so many different interests and that come from so many different backgrounds that depending on who's watching it, you just if you can include somebody, then include them. If you can't, and if it makes the story feel weird, then I don't know, but I just kind of watch movies for what they are. I try not to get too into that angle because I really don't care that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean I think that's how everyone should be. I think a company like Disney, they butcher shit, man. And it's those big companies, that's what they do, right? And I get it because at the end of the day, it's the bottom line, right? There's a line. And you're either red or green. Green is good, red is bad, and there's just certain things, and I mean that flows for everything, not just movies, but video games. You got a company like EA where You know, they buy a small, great studio like, BioWare, which made some of the best role playing games ever made, and they turn them into dog shit because they're just trying to make money, with
Yeah.
microtransactions
Well,
or whatever, right?
at, some people are overcompensating a little bit. Um, but you want to make movies and stuff, and you want to be diverse, and you want to include everyone. You gotta make those decisions, and I can't say what how the people are going to respond to it, but it's tough. It's realistically, that's why when I write, I try not to put any kind of like, I don't say, oh, it's supposed to be a bald white man. You know what I mean? I typically don't do that. You know what I mean? I just would say I want a commanding figure. You know what I mean? Like, I want someone who, and as soon as they talk, it doesn't matter who they are, where they're from. I try to like just say this would be cool, that he'd be perfect, and no matter where they are. So it's a delicate, it's a sensitive subject, and 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 everybody has an opinion. It's kind of like politics. I try not to talk politics. I mean, it is.
Yeah, politics are rough, man. Especially now. Especially now. It's hard not to talk about politics anymore because it just comes up. I work in the insurance industry, and it's like I was never a political person ever in my entire life. And then now it matters to me because it has a big impact on my job and the money I make and what I do. So it's like I hate it because there's never a winner. It's like religion and politics, and there's almost never a winner on. It's like, you could look at it like this guy won and this guy's a loser, or this woman, whatever. But it could go vice versa as well. So it's tough with that stuff, and I'd imagine that has to play on your heartstrings when you're trying to fill these roles and figure out what you're doing because, you're trying to create your story. Now, originally when we talked, I assumed because you made the horror movie that you were that was your thing. You were in horror, but come to find out, you're a sci-fi guy, which is my thing. I love sci-fi.
Yeah.
What got you into writing and just the movie just creating movies or shorts or all that thing and why is sci-fi your number one? I want to know.
I think I see UFOs up at my house like all the time. So and ever since I was a kid, I've been terrified of that stuff. You could show me Freddy Krueger running through a field, I would way rather take my chances with that nightmarish guy versus a little tiny white alien sticking his head out of a bush. I'd run and scream like a little girl. That stuff terrifies me. The idea of these creatures, these beings from another planet that have this technology that far surpasses us, or interdimensional beings, or whatever the heck these things could be, right? That scares me because it's out of our control, based on the stories you hear. So,
well, you and Matt are in like a whole other fucking world in northern New York. Like, I want people that listen to this to understand when you think of New York, you think of New York City. New York City is this small little fucking blip in New York. Northern New York is ginormous. It's just fucking fields, and there's Amish, and it's not like what you think of when you think of New York. And like, you talk to Matt, and I'm like, hey, have you ever had this? And he's like, no, the closest one is 3 hours from me. That's what you have to kind of think of when you think like that northern New York. And people, I don't think like, and I was guilty of this until I met Matt Beardlaw. Shout out Beardlaws. Until I met him, and I've been up there. I've been to Syracuse. I've been to Albany. I've been up towards that way. And it's a whole other realm when you think of the state of New York and not New York City.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's definitely small town USA. Big trucks, like a lot of beards, a lot of farmers, a lot of stuff like that. I'm kind of like an oddball, up here. I own a tattoo shop. I have actually a pretty popular tattoo shop up here, and I kind of. Aside from growing up here and being here, I don't really fully fit in because I'm the guy making movies. I'm the guy in bands. I'm the guy doing all this crazy stuff. I have a lot of relationships like in Syracuse. A lot of the people that I deal with aren't from around here. You know what I mean? So I kind of have a little more open-minded kind of like perspective. Let me see. Your connection is unstable. Let me close this out. I keep having a notification as your connection is unstable. Do you see that or no? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I just moved to a different room. Um, yeah, so I'm like kind of like an oddball up here. I do I'm making movies, doing all this crazy stuff, and a lot of guys are farmers up here. They have like they're milking cows, or they're raising animals for meat and stuff like that. I actually have a hobby farm. My wife and I do, but what's cool about it up here and doing what I do up here, I have this really cool opportunity to. I have a lot of support. I have opportunities to get these locations that are typically not available to people like in this business because um, it costs a lot of money to get a location. It costs a lot of money to get a farm. It costs a lot of money to like get an office building or find one that's closed or someone else to do it. Up here, everybody kind of has something like that. So I have a lot of people that I know up here. So a lot of things that I do are like, hey man, I'm making this movie. Can I use your insurance office? I need a police station. You know what I mean? Or hey, can I use the police department? I want to do a shot where it shows all the police cars, but I won't show any of the information on it. We just set the camera up in a way to where you can't see the stuff, so I get this really awesome set. Sometimes it's like I have a guy who owns JP's Building Supply. James, he let me film in an old house that's in our movie. But he has a lumber yard, and I have a lumber yard so I'll have a character, and he's got a job, and he's doing all this stuff, and say, I need an interaction to happen. I can just go to this guy said, hey, listen, can I film there on Sunday? I'm going to make the lumber yard his job, and we'll do one scene there. So it's just this huge set. He's just stoked to be a part of it. Hopefully if things make money, I could like throw him a little bit of something. But the idea is, we don't have a lot up here, so people aren't making movies. So people want to see this stuff happen. People want to see something win it. It'd be really cool to turn on Netflix, Amazon, or Hulu, wherever your movie ends up, and say, "Wow, that's my place." And so it creates. If you have these relationships, or these people, and they believe in you, there's a lot of resources. You know what I mean? That you have that you just don't have in a city. So on the flip side of that, I got to bring actors in. I got to bring talent in. There's like kind of one cut up here. There's not a lot of diversity up here in the sense of like the way people are. Everybody's kind of, like I said, they're all driving big trucks, wearing boots. Like there's a lot of hunters. There's a lot of stuff. There's not a lot of like punk rockers. There's not a lot of difference up here. So you have to seek that elsewhere to kind of make your movie a little bit bigger world than what it is.
Yeah, I mean you do live in a pretty cool. I mean, I guess because I'm so used to the city. I live 20 minutes from Center City, so we're the suburbs, but it's a quick hop, skipping a jump to get to Philly. So it's just for me. I just think and PA is kind of the same way, but I guess people think of New York, they think of New York City. When people think of PA, it could vary, right? You could think Pittsburgh, you could think Philly, but like. Even Philly is 1 hour away from the Amish. Like, you could take a, straight shot down and be literally just in farmland, and that's all there is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of along the same lines. And one of the best largest fucking buffets in the country is in Pennsylvania. If you ever are around, it's by Blue Ball in Intercourse, PA. I shit you not. And it's called Shady Maple Smorgasbord. This is the best buffet you'll ever go to. They have grills. There's like 5 grills. They're making cheeseburgers and cheesesteaks and fish and steak, and the mashed potatoes. You got Amish people fucking churning that shit. It's unlike any place you'll ever go to in your life, and you can always tell because the men's restroom. I always laugh. The men's restroom has a waiting area, so you walk into the men's restroom and there's couches. And then you walk into the restroom and there's just stalls all the way down. Because after someone's tearing up some buffet, they're also tearing up the restroom. And they do a good job with that. I don't know how much poop comes out of that place, but I'd imagine it's quite a bit.
Yeah, no, you send me a link to that. I'm gonna check it out because I'm on the road a lot with my band. So I we're always looking for places to eat. So maybe I might end up hitting a place up at that. I think where you are? You said Pittsburgh. Where'd you say?
I'm in Philly. I'm in Philly.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna be down. I think we're playing down by Philly soon. We're playing a place Upstage Fest. I can't remember where it was, but I think I'm playing there next week, 2 weeks. But I might actually hit that place up. Sounds delicious.
You have to let me know. You have to let me know, dude. Send
Oh,
me where you guys are playing. We'll have to check you out.
yeah,
Let's talk about your movie, man. Severance Mountain. So let me read your YouTube description.
cool.
So deep in the Adirondack. Is it Adirondack? Did I say that right this time?
Adirondacks.
Adirondack. God damn it. I thought I'd
Last name.
Adirondack Mountains of northern New York. Sarah, played by Nicole Morgan, and Toby, played by Cade Gilroy, plan to reconnect on a remote camping trip following the tragic loss of Toby's girlfriend. It doesn't take long for Sarah to realize that something is off, and her long-awaited getaway turns into a vacation from hell. Meanwhile, local police sergeant Sarge, love the name, Kim Sheriff Snyder, discovers a potential threat to all who enter the parks and desperately pleads to her superiors to take action and warn the public of this threat. Quotes. Meanwhile, with each step she takes deeper into the forest, Sarah finds herself in the ultimate struggle to survive against the threats of Severance Mountain. And I did watch your YouTube, your trailer, and it's a great trailer, dude. I mean, everything you guys use, the shots, the drone shots, it all looks really professional. It's a great job. You guys did a good job.
Thanks. Yeah, it's funny because that wasn't the movie I was going to make. I've been really banking on making this sci-fi film called A Part of Life for a long time. And when COVID hit, it kind of changed everything, and it changed the momentum a little bit. And I mean, obviously for everybody. So we wanted to get back into it as things started lifting. I was talking to the people I work with. I was like, man, I really want to film something, but I can't film this. We don't have the budget for that. And so we decided to write a horror film. That's where Severance Mountain came from. And I live up north. Adirondacks are real close to us, and there's a lot of wooded areas, a lot of I mean, if you're not familiar with the woods, if you're not familiar with the mountains and all stuff, it's kind of intimidating. It's scary, and up where we live, man, there's some weirdos like that, like camp out in the woods and stories of just weird things. So that to me is scary. You know what I mean? Like just you know. Being in the middle of nowhere and there's like a potential killer out in the woods. So Severance Mountain really came from stuff like that. Sarah comes from a city. Her friend passed away, and she was dating this Toby guy, and he's kind of trying to get back into the scene, and she's been so consumed with work that they go up to the mountain to kind of reconnect. And so when they're up there, all this crazy stuff's happening, and in the background, like this police sergeant's kind of like, people are dying and stuff, and she's just like, well, the chief is kind of suggesting that it's just animal attacks, and they're inexperienced people up in the mountains, and this sergeant's like, no way, I think something else is going on. I don't think this was an animal attack. And it just kind of he just kind of says, we're keeping the parks open. We're going to keep pushing forward, and it kind of the story kind of follows from that point. Like these two up in the woods, they're unaware of this whole thing happening, and it just kind of it turns into Severance Mountain, man. The movie.
Now, talk to me. You obviously don't have to go into too much detail because I know we had talked about this when we previously recorded, but I thought it was interesting how you talked about your villain, which in my mind makes the movie scarier because you wanted to make it seem or feel like it could happen, right? So talk a little bit about the villain of your story.
Well, the villain, without getting too into it, because he's I don't really reveal him quite yet. So when when you watch the movie, he makes his presence known, but it's more. I didn't want it to be like a typical movie where you're running and running, getting stabbed, you get your foot cut off, you keep running, you get and this weird super like human strength and this supernatural world. I wanted it to be real. I felt like I wanted my killer. I wanted you to see his face. I wanted you to see his eyes. My killer. I wanted him to be more real, like that scary moment when you see a fight happen and someone looks like they're hurt and the other person just keeps going. Like it's like I wanted it to feel more real. You don't get shot 10 times and you're crawling away. Like it's kind of real. Like you get shot once, you might bleed out. You know what I mean? And so I tried to give it. I, I this is gonna sound weird, but I wanted to feel like this could happen to you. I wanted to feel like, wow, I go hiking in the woods with all those same things, and that did not help these people. Holy shit! You know what I mean? This that
Yeah.
terrifies me. All it takes is one guy walking behind me to get pissed off, and do it. Like I'll tell you this. Someone told me this story. They were talking about someone that we knew a long time ago, and I might be getting the story wrong, but basically, a dude was shopping at a store, and there was another guy behind him shopping. The guy turns around, walks up. They don't know each other, didn't interact, nothing. He stabs him in the neck, and the guy dies in the grocery store. No alter.
Jesus.
Some weird psycho who just lost it, took a knife out of his pocket and stabbed him. The guy was on the cameras. I guess it just showed him walking. Nothing happened. The guy just did it, right? And that shit is terrifying to me. That could happen to anybody. I mean, you just don't know who's around you. That's why Melissa came up with the tagline. The scariest monsters are the humankind, because I thought, man, yeah, you could be scared of Freddy or Jason or a demon or a possession or an entity, but man, humans are like the scariest monsters are the humankind, man. Someone could just come up to you and just stab you, or just like pull you aside in an alley, and who knows, beat the crap out of you, or who knows. And that's, I wanted to kind of like make it more like that, more like, oh shit, like that could really happen, that could happen. So that's kind of how I tried to make the killer. That's how I presented him on film.
Yeah, people are scary as fuck, man. I worked retail for a long time before I got my nice office job, but I mean, I always thought to myself, how many serial killers did I help? And I had no idea. Because they're very good at babe, what's that quote? Is she down here? What's the quote from your favorite movie? Their mask of sanity is slipping. So the wifey is obsessed with that. Why can't I think of the movie now? What? American Psycho.
Okay, I haven't watched it in a while. It's on my list to watch again because it's been a while since I watched it. But I like a lot of people are watching those true crimes, like the Jeffrey Dahmer story, or they're watching these shows where like it just follows these people, and they're kind of boring. I mean, it's intriguing because you're like, oh my god, I served him beer one time, or oh my god, he came to our restaurant once, and that's what makes it scary. The simplicity of what it was, like how well they blended in, how like it didn't take much other than meeting a girl at a bar and saying, hey, welcome to my house for a minute. I read a story where this girl said, "Yeah, I was at a bar. This guy invited me back. He's really good looking, and 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 she went back to his house and stuff, and he rubbed some cream on her or something like that. I can't remember where I saw this. I might have saw in a podcast. I can't remember. And he rubbed lotion on her. She thought it was really weird, and then she's like, she got creeped out, and she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna leave. And the guy said, no, just stay. And she ended up leaving, and the guy kind of tried to stop her. She had to sneak out. Well, so the next day her skin was breaking out, and she was like, "Why is my skin breaking out?" And come to find out, the dude was rubbing some sort of like cream on her that would break down human flesh, and like I guess the guy was a cannibal or something like that. She never heard anything about him. The guy was I don't know what. Oh no, I think the guy ended up getting arrested. She read in the paper, and he had bodies in his apartment. And like
Jesus Christ,
some normal in passing at the bar, hey, this guy's cute, oh, this chick's cute, whatever, and they went through, and so I heard it someplace in passing, and I those are the stories, man. Those like simple things that everybody does, situations that everybody's been in or might be in, and just it just could happen. The scariest monsters are the humankind. I mean, that is like a very real thing, man, and it's a terrifying thing, I think.
And shout out to the women, because I feel like they're always the victims of some of the craziest shit. Because men, I don't know, man. I don't know who takes the cake, but shit goes crazy, especially when we go crazy. Talk to me a little bit about the movie creation process, because I know, obviously you guys are a small outfit, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But you said some interesting stuff the last time that I thought was really cool that I didn't really think of in terms of how you get your angles and shots, and just talk a little bit about what that process looks like. And if you want to bring up the writing process too, because I know that obviously you had a co-writer and you guys had some hiccups with COVID and stuff.
Yep. So I wrote this after COVID, and I ended up meeting Melissa after through my lawyer and stuff. He recommended her. He said she was doing all these like these these contests and stuff and doing really well. And we hit it when we met. We hit it off, and so I had already written like a small 30-page script for Severance Mountain. I don't think I called it Severance Mountain then. I can't remember what I called it, but uh, so I had this idea, and I tried to write this short film that I could film easy. So the idea was, my director of photography said, "Hey, let's film something with two people, two locations, and just make something that we can get out there." I'm like, okay. So I looked at it like a challenge. Okay, usually my stories are kind of bigger and they have a lot of characters and there's a lot of backstory and all stuff. So how can I write something simple that didn't have a ton of dialogue, that like told a story that was still interesting to watch, and something that we could pull off. So, I took it all out of I paid for this all out of pocket. Like, didn't pay a whole lot for it. I'm not gonna talk numbers, but I mean it, it's a shoestring of a shoestring budget. It's really really small. So um, I sorry, I got distracted for a second. So
All good, man.
there's a shoestring of a shoestring budget. So basically, when I write, I say, okay, I know these people. This guy could be an actor. This guy, like, wow, man, he's really got some character, and so I tried to write something around these people. So when I was writing, I was like, okay, I'm gonna use Kim as Sarge. I just know her personality. I know who she is. So when I wrote my characters, I wrote it for a very specific person, knowing that they're not necessarily an actor, but they have awesome personality. I think they could pull this off. A couple people were actors, and I knew they could pull off a little more, like Cade and Nicole. But a few of them I just wrote for them. So like I knew these people well enough so I knew their mannerisms. I knew the way they would act. Like my killer, I just knew the way he moved, and I thought, ooh, that's creepy. He does these things that are creepy. So I just knew it would feel natural, right? And so then on top of that, you start writing these stories. So I gotta think, okay, if I'm gonna really film this next week, how am I going to do this? Because we have a camera, we have a dolly, but we don't have a big crane to get these overhead shots. We don't have amazing drones. We're using a good drone, but like an entry level kind of drone. I don't have ways to turn the camera and make the shots move, and I didn't have a lot of those things, so I just had to be really creative. And I looked at it more like an experiment. Like, what can I do for a little bit of money? How can I still make a watchable, interesting movie that looks high quality, where I just can't do some of these shots? So um, every time I wrote, I just kept that in mind. And then when we started filming, it creates a whole new set of challenges, because I write all the storyboards out saying I know what this guy has, I know what equipment we have used. So everything every time I draw a storyboard, I think, okay, this is what I want, but I can't do that. So I would change the shots to work for what I knew we had for gear. And then when you're on set, you're following that, and then you realize, oh shit, we can't even do that. I wrote it too intense for that. So then you have to simplify or be super creative. So you find yourself on there going, okay, following this guide, following the script. People know it. You've had them act it out, and you have these ideas. I'm like, hey, can you do this? He's like, I can't. We can't move the camera like that. With the right stuff, it'll fall off. And I'm like, shit. Okay. So then let's turn it like this instead. So this is an indie film, and any indie filmmaker knows the struggle. And when I say it, I don't want to sound like I'm alone, because anybody that's making a low budget indie film has the same struggles, and that's kind of that's the trick. The trick is, did I make a movie where you could follow it? It was interesting enough. It told the story well enough, and the shots that we have. You didn't miss the other shots that we wanted to do, because where someone might say, well, why don't you do this? I'm like, yeah, you think I didn't want to do that? Or how come you came in like that? Oh, because we were on stairs and we couldn't pull it in. We had to just kind of zoom it in. Like, so there's all these little tricks you do to try to think, okay, what was that movie? So sometimes you pull back for older movies that didn't have a lot of gear either. So it's a lot of on your feet, and that's being a director and being on the set like that. That's kind of like part of it, right? Is how quick on your feet are you? When you run into a problem, can you correct it? You're going to curl up in a ball on the floor. So, um, and then when you have no money, or little money, and you have um, deadlines, your equipment malfunctions, your special effects fall apart. You're like, oh shit. Like, for example, I'll tell you this one story. We were filming the scene where this guy gets a head smashed, okay? And I told the dude, when you do this, when you do the smash, don't go too far in because it'll rip the head off the body and then it won't look right. And so what's he do for a shot? Rips the head right off. And my one prop I had, blood's going everywhere. I'm like, keep it rolling. I run out there and I grab it. I slide it back into place. I try to make it work, and then we finish the scene. And then it didn't. It looked great, except for you could see where the neck was. So I have a guy in the Ukraine I use, and he was actually, when Russia was invading Kiev over in um, where did I just say? Where's Russia invading?
Ukraine.
Ukraine. So he's over
Yep.
Ukraine, right? So he's like running down from bomb drill. They're having alarms go off. He's running, going to the bunker, and then he slips back up. He's like, "Sorry, I'm in a bunker right now." And he would show me all the alarms they had. And then the next day he'd be up there working because the power's flickering, editing the neck, making it look right. And then he'd have to stop. So it took him a little longer. But I'm like, wow, this guy's just going for it.
Wow.
So, but I'd worked with him before in the past, um, so so there's a lot of little things like that happen. You're quick on your feet. You got to do this. Okay, I knew that I could call this guy. I knew that he could fix it. So you just kind of you're constantly thinking 10 steps ahead. Okay, even though the head came off, I know we can fix it in post. Let's finish the scene. We'll film it, and then we'll have him fix it. He fixed it. Now it looks like the neck. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of stuff like that. It's just like a lot of being on your feet. You're just like, oh shit. What next? We can fix it there. Just keep moving. Okay, what about there? Fuck it. It looks good enough. Okay, just keep moving. Okay, she didn't say the line right. That actually works. Now document that in the script. Now every other shot we do, make sure she says that exact same way. That was better than what we had written. So it's just a lot of little things like that. You know what I mean? And you're with the constant, you can't get the shot. So it's a job. It's a challenge.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing too, and I guess I never really thought about it before you talked about it before, was that, you decided to do your own thing, right? So you self-funded because you wanted full control, and I guess I never really thought of the control aspect, because once you start to, take money from places, you lose more and more control of what you could do, what you can say, and where it goes, right? Talk a little bit about that process.
Well, so, I mean, at one point I thought, oh, it'd be great to have someone, financing this. But at that point, then, they have writers, they have people, well, I want my so-and-so to write this, or I want to go through here. You got to hire my nephew, or you got to hire this actor. So it starts to change the dynamic. Well, sometimes it's good, and sometimes it might not be good. I don't really know. I haven't done it yet. I usually just finance things myself. But what's cool at this point now is I can tell you everything I don't like about the movie. I can tell you everywhere we fell short. I can tell you all the things I wished I could have done, or wish where I had more money. Money can solve a lot of problems, with a film, when it comes to, actors, and when it comes to more resources or more time just to spend an extra day filming a scene. So, that being said, because I wrote it, I co-wrote with Melissa. We had talked about this for months and months and months before we were there. She was on set for the first half. She was part of Unit 1, and so we got to really see it come to life, and we spent so much time talking about it that while I'm financing it too, I have complete control because I'm the guy putting the money up. So as I'm doing it, and not that it was a lot of money, but it was still, I was the only guy paying for anything. So I got to control it, and then I edited it, and I wrote the music for it too. So some things I was filming out in my head, I was going, and as I'm imagining song in my head. So as I'm filming, I'm thinking, once I put that music there, people are like, that's kind of boring. I'm like, wait till I put the music there, it'll work. And the truth is, I think a lot of the things we got right were a lot of the important parts of the movie. But because I was the one in charge financially, I was the one in charge as a director, and I was the one who knew that script inside and out. I could make those decisions on the fly. I didn't have to worry about someone coming and saying, no, that doesn't look right. Don't do it. Change it. Or I'm paying for this. I want it to look like this. I don't want it to look like that. You're like, but wait, that's not going to work. And they're like, that's what I want. And you're like, you have to do it. They're the boss. They're paying the bill. So you got to have, I got to have control. But what's really cool too is every step of the way until the very end, it's really just the company that I started, which is Ignorant Tourist Productions. So, when it came to pre-production, when it came to like, when we were on set, when afterwards collecting all the information, I hired John Sovey. He has Soves Media. He's my director of photography. He's done a lot of really great shit. He's done stuff for Wiz Khalifa. He did a movie called The Fiddling Horse, documentary called The Perfect Bid, and he's done a lot of really cool stuff. So he's got tons of experience. So I kind of listen to him too. He knows what he can and can't do. He's like, well, we can't do that because it won't look right unless I had this. So we're constantly like in communicating with that stuff. But because if another person was involved and we knew we couldn't do something because we just didn't have the resources, and they don't know, they're just putting the money up. Well, I want it to look like this, or it's like,
Yeah.
so now that's a whole nother dynamic. So it was cool to have control because we knew we were limited. We knew we were falling short, and we knew we had to make something happen with the resources that we had. So, and I carried that on to the very end because I wrote the music for it. There are scenes where we didn't record any audio, and I was in my kitchen, doing all the audio for stuff. I was like, making the footsteps, and I was doing the breathing, and I was wrinkling my shirt to get the shirt moving, and like everything. I did everything myself. And it's like multiple people in the scene, but it's just me creating all those sounds. And so, in post,
That's cool, man. That's cool.
yeah. So and this is not uncommon for independent filmmaking. I mean, it's like I'm saying it like I did this special thing, but when you're in independent film, that's what you do. But what we were trying to do was, I wanted this to look a little bit better than the average indie film. Like, for what we did and how we did it, I really feel like, the trailer kind of speaks for itself. It looks like a quality, Hollywood movie. I think it has the look. I think it has the sound. I think it has the flow. And what we're trying to do is like just take a couple steps further and just really try to focus on the things we knew we could control, and that was the way it looked. We went to Subcat Studios for all the 5.1 audio, so it's in 5.1 surround. So like, if someone walks behind you, it's in the right place. And I was meticulous mixing with those guys. I sat there because I placed everything, and I said I want it over here more, I want it over there. So I didn't like just let them do it. I didn't have some editor editing it. I edited my movie, so if I ran into a problem, I could like reshoot something, or I'd call him the DP because he's an hour away. I said, come on, let's film this thing. Let's film her grabbing her phone, or let's film a footstep there, and then I just squeeze it in, where I fell short because I didn't capture enough footage. So, being in control, I could do that stuff. I didn't have to worry about it costing a little more. I didn't have to ask someone for money. I just could make that decision because it was me.
And that's wild to me, man. Like, I interviewed a creator. Her name's Annie Akahora, and she did the videos where she would play like SpongeBob, and she could create the sounds with just she's an audio engineer, so she would create the sounds with all like the crazy shit with just like like a 2x4 and a screwdriver and like all this crazy shit, and she would get like really crazy views on TikTok because she's showing how she's doing all this. Like, it looks like a table of junk that she's using, but she could create sounds. You're like, holy shit, that sounds like a cheeseburger frying. And it's, she's rubbing like a piece of metal on something, and
It's awesome.
I mean, I didn't know. I guess, I'm part of the dumb populace, and I didn't really think. I'm like, well, they're really frying that egg, or they're really, footsteps of people running. But and it's the same thing with video games. I mean, a lot of that stuff is generated by people fucking. Now AI might change some of that, in the future, but you have people that are really fucking good at sound effects and creating those things, and I think that's something you just don't see or hear about. I think,
Well,
when you're thinking of movies,
it's kind of like, sometimes video games or movies look better than real life, right? Sound is the same way, right? So sometimes, like, it doesn't need to be the exact sound, because sometimes you capture perfect audio and it sounds like whatever. You recreate it because you want it to sound more intense. Like, sometimes bacon frying when you're in the room and they're really frying bacon doesn't sound right. Sometimes you have to create a new sound. Sometimes, they'll use celery to break a bone. Just the way it crunches. You hold it up to the mic, you're like, and it sounds like celery, right? But then you pop it in when Arnold Schwarzenegger's like breaking someone's neck, it sounds like their whole spine's collapsing.
Yeah.
Sometimes these sounds they sound better than real life, and when you're watching a movie, you're there for an experience. So sometimes that's what you want. You want the footsteps to be a little more dramatic. You want that crunch or that gunshot or whatever to be a little more dramatic. And it's the same thing when it comes to the visuals of it. Sometimes you want that blood to be more dramatic. It all depends on what you're doing, what you're making. You know what I mean?
It's true. It's true. So you talked about your production company. So the Ignorant Tourist Productions. Where did that name come from? That's unique.
Actually, I just talked to this guy that actually I came up with today, earlier today, because I told him I was doing some podcasts and people keep asking where to come up with it. So his father, we found this picture years ago, and we've always been in bands, and we always like release, mixtapes and stuff. And there's a picture of his father standing on some like statue someplace, like in another country. He climbed a fence and he stood there like just an asshole, right? And then the back said, and I just thought it was hilarious. I'm like, dude, ignorant tourist. I'm like, that is funny. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the dude who goes up to the sacred apple tree and takes a leak on it after he leaves the park. Sacred apple tree, you can't go near that. You're pissing on it. And, the ignorant tourist, right? But
Yeah.
I looked at it when it came to production standpoint. I label it. I put it on like my music stuff. I put it on anything that I create. My kids actually make little videos like Ignorant Tourist Productions, and I think it's hilarious, right? But I use it like I'm this guy in this scene, like filmmaking, who maybe I don't have a place here. Maybe I just climb the wall and I hop in the party and I'm pretending I belong and I don't know if I belong. But I don't want to be held down to one thing. I like to say I'm an ignorant tourist. I don't want to be stuck in horror. I don't want to be stuck in like sci-fi. I don't want to be stuck in comedy. I want to do it all. If I see something that looks amazing, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? I'm just this guy who's like, I do that with music. Sometimes I play acoustic. Sometimes I play heavy metal. I play drums. I play guitar. I play every instrument. Sometimes I sing. I can sing like Bon Jovi. My friends will laugh when I write a weird Bon Jovi song, but I'm in a metal band. So it's like I'm an ignorant tourist. I always say I'm an ignorant tourist. I just like to do what I want to do, and I don't care what I'm supposed to do. I'm just an artist creating stuff, and ignorance is bliss. Just move with it and go and just do your thing, man, and just if people are gonna like it, they're gonna like it. If they don't, they don't. So Ignorant Tourist Productions, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna be just focusing on this. I'm gonna be focusing on the arts.
I think that's the way to do it, man. Because you don't want to be like a Blumhouse or whatever, Bloomhouse, where it's like you're known for just doing horror movies, and it leaves you open to be able to kind of do whatever the fuck you want.
If that's what you love, then do it. I mean, I think Blumhouse is doing a killer job, and they got it on lockdown. And someday I would love to work with those guys too. But at the same time, if this does well, and like let's say people are interested enough, and they say, I want to know more. I want to know more. I have an idea for another part of this, but the next script I want to do is like it's almost like a Tarantino flick. You know what I mean? It's about a cop whose wife was a junkie and he's protecting her for a long time, and she pissed off the wrong people and she ends up dying, and he's got his kid, and he gets into this beef with this biker gang, and then he's got to try to get his daughter back. It's kind of like Die Hard meets like Reservoir Dogs or something. I don't even know what it is. It's a completely different vibe. But that I love writing stuff like that too. But the other pilot I made for TV show is about a small town who are dealing with these like really this sci-fi kind of alien type stuff and portals and stuff. And so everything that I do, every script is just a little bit different. So I can't say I have a few horror scripts I've written, but I have a few sci-fi. So I just want to be able to write. I just want to be able to film the stuff that I want to film. A lot like M. Night, dude. I think that dude just kind of does what he wants. I think he's an ignorant tourist productions kind of guy. Like he just does what he wants to do. He usually finances his stuff, and his stuff is just so out there. And sometimes it doesn't fit the standard Hollywood mold. Sometimes it doesn't. It's got an indie vibe, but it's still big. It's got big actors, and I love that vibe. That's what I love about Tarantino. He gets these big actors, but still sometimes it feels so indie, and it's almost you're watching it and you're like, wow, he's doing the same shot for so long. But that's what makes it magical. It's different and it's cool and it's his vision. And that's what I hope that I can eventually get to that point where I can control what I'm doing and people like it, for what it is.
Yeah, look, I love M. Night. I think the only movie that I hated that M. Night did, and I watched it in the movies, dude, and I was so fucking mad, and I called it out loud. But The Happening, I fucking I hated the movie.
Is that
because I'm like it's the one with Mark Wahlberg
Yep.
where the plants were killing everybody.
Yep.
I was like, if it's the plants, I'm fucking leaving this movie theater. Of course, it was the plants. I didn't leave the movie theater, but I was pissed that it was the plants. But other than that, I mean, his stuff is good, and I agree with you. Like, it's good to be able to do your own thing without having someone. And I feel like that's like every creative person. Right? I mean, it's like a creative thing to like, look, if this is yours and this is what you want and this is your vision, you don't want someone else telling you, oh, well, you got to hire my cousin or you got to do it over here and it doesn't make sense to the story. So the way you're doing it, I think is the way to go. And I think naturally people gravitate towards that stuff because you will see more of you in what is out there rather than, 5 other people and what they expect.
Well, imagine painting a picture, and then someone says, "Oh, why use yellow there? Why don't you put red there instead?" I bought you all those paints. Put red there. I don't want yellow. You're like, no, but the yellows are. And then imagine just someone dominating every little thing that you did. And I know what's going to happen. I know if someone hires me for something, if you ever get that call and says, "Hey, you want to make a Star Wars?" I'm like, "Yep. What do you want me to do?" Of course.
Yeah, I'll be right there. I'll be there tomorrow.
There must be something that I did that was interesting enough to where they see the potential. A lot of my shortcomings aren't things that I made a mistake on. It's literally I just didn't have the resources. So, I'm banking on the idea that if I had the resources, I would do that cool shot. I would use that cool angle. I would have a better scene. But being in control of it ultimately is what I want. And even if it's not the best thing, I got to at least control where this is. There aren't a lot of hands in this aside from the people that worked on it. It's not like I did it by myself. There are things
Yeah.
myself. I mean, I couldn't make this movie without my crew, the people I hired. The grips doing the lights, and there's so many people that helped even on this small little budget. But at the end of the day, we don't have all these people, all these producers, all these people kind of telling us what we should and shouldn't be doing. We get to kind of I'm friends with a lot of these people, so when they say something, I listen, and I might pivot, I might change my mind. They can change my mind, they can persuade me, and we just do things like that. It feels more like we're creating something. It's the difference between being a tyrant and a leader. I'd rather be a leader than a tyrant.
Organic, man. It's honestly it's the way I used to stream video games. It's why I went to podcasting because you're dictated on your listeners telling you what they want to see rather than you creating the content you wanted to do. It feels less like a job. Like I feel like I would imagine it's the same for you, right? You creating something and doing it, it feels less like a job and more like it's your aspiration. It's what you want to do rather than showing up and collecting a check. You care about it. And I think more people could learn from doing what you're doing and instead of, I don't want to say selling out, because sometimes you have to, sometimes go where the money is because it does help in that because we all have to start somewhere. But I agree with you there. So let's end on this because we're hitting the hour mark. Future aspirations, any movies in the works, any scripts that you feel comfortable thinking about what's the next step there. Talk a little bit about that before we end.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have some targets. I have 3 solid scripts that I really dig, and I'm down to do any one of those 3. I have a 4th. I have actually 2. I have like 5 things that I've written that 3 of them are full features, 2 of them are pilots for TV shows, and I like all of them. One's a little more lighthearted, almost like an Office. It's about teachers and stuff, and the struggles with these kids growing up, becoming adults, and they have to teach kids, and they're all a bunch of big kids. It's a funny kind of comedy. Another one's like a sci-fi kind of about this space guy who's like a really horrible kind of like hero, and when people, it's almost like a Spaceballs meets like Galaxy Quest meets Star Wars. And
Nice.
I also have another one. So it's the real sci-fi one where it's pretty deep and it's about portals and this small community and stuff, and just with how they're experiencing these things. And and I have another one about another, it's like an alien type one and stuff about these goblins and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like sci-fi horror in a way. It's not really horror, but it kind of has some scary parts. And my other one I was telling you about earlier, which is like my Tarantino. It's not a Tarantino, but it's got that kind of vibe. It's more like action, more like mob style police, kind of like rogue cops and all this stuff. And any one of those, I mean, I wrote from beginning to end. And I love them. And I've had people check them out, and I feel really confident in them. So, but I don't know what's going to happen with this. So if it does well,
Yeah.
I've already kind of taken a couple steps forward in the idea of what would be next for this movie if I wanted to start carrying it on. So I have ideas for that too. So if this is what kind of gets my foot in the door, and if people see the movie for what it truly is, and it's a true indie film that looks really well, then you might see another part to this. Telling a little bit.
Oh, okay.
With hopefully a bigger budget to do it. So I'm open to a few different things.
That's awesome, dude. Well, look, it was a pleasure having you on, man. Tell everybody where they can find your stuff, and obviously where they can find Severance Mountain when it launches.
Yeah, so we'll have all of our information on ignoranttouristproductions.com. So there's a trailer there for Severance Mountain. We don't have a lot of these other things I've worked on, these pilots, because they're still kind of under wraps. They're still proofs of concept. But we will be built. Our store will be on there and stuff. So when the movie comes out, we will be able to get some merch and whatnot. But we also we'll be posting things on there. There'll be links to Amazon, iTunes, Apple TV, Google Play, and I think YouTube. English speaking territories. It'll be available September 13th. It's a Friday, September 13th, right before Halloween. Halloween. So hopefully, when you're looking to watch that new release indie film, you'll stumble upon Severance Mountain, and I think you get a kick out of it. So yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man, and spreading the word, dude.
Hell yeah, man. Any way we can help, we will. You can find my podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, Drink Clock Pod on socials, Drink Clock Podcast anywhere you listen to everything. It's on literally, I don't know what it isn't on. And this episode will be up probably next week. And look, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a fucking busy dude, so I appreciate the time you put hanging out with me. And I hope your movie does well. I'll buy it, bro. You got my commitment.
Well,
me and the wifey, we love this shit, dude. We'll check it out 100%.
Yeah, and it's if you hashtag, it's hashtag I survived Severance Mountain. That's what we're kind of pushing right now. So we got some little things we got planned to kind of promote it over the next few months. So it comes out, I think, 6 weeks. So you're gonna see. Hopefully, we'll be hitting different markets with some different little hooliganish things. So.
Yeah, you're giving out some T-shirts here and there too, right?
T-shirts, yeah, we're giving out T-shirts. There's stuff. So if you go to ignoranttouristproductions.com, I think we're gonna start having a store up, and for a limited time until we feel like I've spent too much money, there is some stuff that we're giving away. We will be doing a few giveaways too. So we'll be posting that on our social media, at Instagram. I think it's Severance Mountain Movie, and you can follow me, Ethan Henry 43 on Instagram too. I post a lot of stuff about too. So. But yeah, that's it, man.
Cool, dude. Thank you, man. And look, you have a great night. Don't go too crazy, and don't hang out in the Adirondack Mountains. All right, let's keep you here
right now. Like, I'm like, it's. I live in the middle of nowhere. It's crazy. So, Rob, I appreciate you, dude.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
Man, later.
On a stormy night where legends unfold, there's a podcast that's breaking the mold. Raise your voices, raise your glass high. Welcome to the Drink O'Clock Podcast. Let's dive. Oh, grab an old fashioned and join the flame. Raise your spirits, let the music play. From the corner park to the dance hall floor. Drink O'Clock Podcast, we're ready for more. We're ready for more. With a mix of folklore and rebel cheer here, we'll guide you through tales of whiskey and beer. From Irish shores to lands afar, grab your friends, it's time to raise the bar.